So, the current debate now within politics, of course, is the replacement for the Supreme Court um, justice seat, and of course, we already know this recent history. There's a blatant hypocrisy that Republicans literally blocked President Obama's Supreme Court option because they controlled the Senate at the time and they didn't even provide a vote on it. Yeah, and then now they come back and their whole argument was, hey, we have an election coming up. We should let the voters essentially make the decision. That is 100% true. And now, since they are, they control the Senate, and now they have an opportunity to do the Supreme Court justice replacement. And now they're gonna ram it right through. Which, yeah, that is complete. That's true. Their reasoning for previously is completely stupid, and it's partisan, and it was a power play, and that's exactly what took place. With that being said, I'm a person that believes you have the majority do it. If I was President Obama, if he actually did have a spine, he would have tried to at least do, and it would have been controversial, but a recess appointment. If there was an actual opportunity to do so, quite frankly, yeah, that he should have done it. I mean, so there's this fake argument right now that, quite frankly, both parties are even principled about this, is completely stupid and it's partisan. And I'm more than confident if the Democrats did hold a majority, they probably would have actually done it under Obama, which would have made sense. I mean, it would have made total sense. So that is the truth about that whole matter and about this, quote unquote hypocrisy with the Republicans. As far as the messaging goes, I think that's mainly what it is they said one thing, but they always do this. And the Democrats pretty much play along with the game as well. And now, yeah, we're going to have a new justice. And then there's this silly conversation about the new justice. And it's hyper focused on essentially, social issues. It's hyper focused when it comes around to mainly abortion, as if that's the only thing Supreme Courts make judgments about. They have judgments about tax policy, a lot of corporate policy. I mean, those are the things that workers' rights, which affect everybody, which we should be more concerned about. Campaign finance laws, which is, Citizens United is a big thing, but, there were laws passed decades ago that essentially say money is speech, which are very important issues. And now it just becomes this hyper, silly debate about Supreme Court justices and this hyper focusing on abortion, which is a very important issue. But that's not the only thing that they do. And it just becomes 100%, which if anyone knows, it just turns into a grift, Pretty sure if you made one donation probably within the last 20 years, you still get emails to this day. And that is probably the Supreme Court is going to be the headline that tries to get your attention and then tries to get you to donate 5, 10, 15, 25 and much more money in order for them to the party to either push something through or, if you're on the other end, to block it, which quite frankly, in and of itself, money should not be able to stop a vote. But unfortunately, we know money does play a big part. And that should be completely concerning, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. If you're a Republican, would it be sufficient for you to be like, oh, yeah, if someone was able to raise enough money, they can essentially stop you? It makes no sense, only in a sense of, money being, small donations, really on a platform that you believe in. If that particular person or that party, you view a party as all singular when everyone's typically ideologies will change regionally, or as far as like what issues are important to people. But that in and of itself should be an issue. Secondly, they mainly do hyper focus on this particular subject because it is, it's typically 50-50, and it doesn't, and it makes them have to talk less about other issues that, basically affect your day to day. Like I said, like workers' rights, which to me is a very big issue. And another issue is, definitely, healthcare legislation. So the ACA is basically been challenged again because that's just what happens when you literally have legislators in Congress who controlled all three branches, but just couldn't actually bring themselves to just change the law on their own. What do? We kick it up to the courts because they don't want to have to make a hard decision or make a hard vote, which completely unveils what they're all about, essentially. And and then now this is going to go, and then it may get overturned. It may not. People act like when it comes to the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, it's mainly been upheld for the most part. Like the only part that's really been attacked more so will be the Medicaid expansion. Like I don't even think people really understand the corporate aspects of the bill have been upheld, but the government expansion, that's like the main thing that was like essentially not allowed to be mandated, because the initial original law was, the intent was that if states don't expand Medicaid, I believe they were going to face a penalty. So it was the federal government forcing them into the program. And then the Supreme Court initially said, no, you can't do that. It has to be their option. So that's why you have that. But the subsidies, the exchanges, all the other, they've been upheld. Like the parts that the insurance companies like, because they like the subsidies. They can raise the rates as much as they want to. Of course, they have the medical loss ratio, but they essentially raise it as much as they want to, and then they get a big subsidy from the government to make the person on the policyholder essentially be able to afford the plan. So I mean that should be. I wish the focus would more so pertain to all the other things Supreme Court justices actually have to vote on. Environmental rules, immigration. They so to make it just so completely silly and only hyper focused on one particular issue, which quite frankly, if anyone, I think people on the right that are pro-life notice this right from the get-go. Quote unquote right wing justices, which are going to completely kick that can down the road when it comes to Roe v. Wade. Also, again, if the parties in control that claim to believe these things, Democrats claim to be, we're pro-choice, they also control all chambers. Pass a bill, put it in. If you really believe it, pass a bill and codify it into law. Same thing with the Republicans when it comes to, because when they control all three chambers too, put it into law. And then, if that's what you really believe, if you really believe you want to ban abortion, for goodness sakes, you have the votes, ban it. I mean, and then run on it. But this is just basically legislators not wanting to do hard votes. So what they do, even when they get full control, they talk a good game when they're not in power. They fundraise, they get your money, then they get into power, and then what do? We just don't have the votes sufficiently to do it. And so and so is in this purple seat, and we don't want to mess up their chances. They come up with every excuse in the book when they are actually in power to not do things they ran on. So I'm just hoping folks can see this is 100% fundraising theater. That's what this is. That's what these courts are. Most of the justices, you're going to get the states, red states are going to send the abortion stuff there. Some will get approved and then some won't. And then it'll be like these narrow rulings, and they're going to, what Roe v. Wade, to my belief, I think is probably still, if it gets struck down, then that would mean, hey, if the Democrats do get control of all three chambers again, and they don't pass the law to codify it into in legislation, there. I mean, for goodness sakes, if you haven't gotten it before, they're stringing you along. Like it's all theater. They're playing with you. They the one thing that typically will happen consistently under both a Democrat and a Republican establishment when they run, it's usually going to be Democrats will do a little bit more regulation, and Republicans will deregulate, and Democrats are hyper focus on middle class tax cuts, and then Republicans focus on tax cuts all around, and even corporations, like they did this last time around. And the military budget continues to increase, but from that, materially nothing. And then you get some executive orders on a few different things here from the Democrats that either emphasize or super wokeness or inclusion or whatever, but ultimately not much really changes. You still get the same thing. You still get roughly the same bills. You still get roughly the same posturing, and quite frankly, under Democratic run administration and under Republican run administration, who consistently gets the same treatment? Banks. They got bailed out this time around and that time around. Homeowners, as you can see, the eviction crisis, and possibly going to be a foreclosure one too. That's going to be coming out of this after the moratorium is up. And basically, because some banks handle these deferments a little bit differently, that might increase as well. Pretty much consumers, constituents, they still get left, left down the drain, and they don't get much help. That's the consistency that takes place. So hopefully people see the bigger picture, but it's not like mainstream media is really going to cover that aspect of it.